Thank you so much. I have learned more in this evening about Zoom functionality than I have learned in 5 years. Thank you. That was really exciting. Congratulations to Jules. Okay, I'm really excited to be here. And the first thing I want to say is the fact that we're having this conversation at all and that this is a sorority, a sisterly event, is that, I mean, that alone is radical, truly, because I think the idea of like us sharing what we're doing and talking openly about money and about finances and about how hard it can be sometimes and about our incomes, that's a truly radical act. And that is so helpful to kind of learn from each other and know that it's like not this dark secret that we have that we like have to deal with money. Like we all deal with money. We all have our own budgeting concerns and income constraints, and all of these things affect all of us. And having open and honest conversations about that is only going to help. So I love that we're here doing this so much, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity. So thank you to all of you. And I do have to caveat, I think, like legally, this is not financial advice. I can't give that. I also am just like a person. I've covered finance for so long, and one of the main things that I think I've taken away is like I've covered so many bro hedge fund managers who kind of just like grab you by the shoulders and shake you so that you believe whatever they're trying to tell you. And it made me like not believe in the whole myth of the individual investor, of the like really good stock picker. So I've been like disillusioned in that way. So my kind of personal finance budgeting stuff is sort of bifurcated and scattered about, but this is what I've learned, and this is what I think is has helped me along the way, and helps me still, and I hope will be helpful for y'all as well. I think that the weirdest thing about money is how emotional it is. Like it's completely psychological. The way that we think about money, the way that we interact with money, the way that we conduct ourselves in our economic fortunes is completely psychological. And honestly, figuring out your own psychological, like weird hangups about money will do more good for you than anything I could say tonight or that anyone could tell you. So, a really easy example, and I feel like I don't mean to presume, but I feel like probably everyone in this room has an experience like this. Like, I literally hid from my Cigna therapy reimbursements for like years. I was like, I don't know how to fill out the form. I can't do that. And I was like afraid of like the form for years. And that's like hundreds of dollars just walking out the door that Cigna's like, thank you. And finally, I staged an intervention for myself because, like, at that point, the like sum is just growing in your mind and it's becoming this like looming specter, which obviously makes it worse. So I staged an intervention with myself and forced my husband to sit down with me. And it turned out the form was really easy and it was not hard at all. Everything was fine. So the thing that I learned from that was that I was not acting rationally at all. And it was to my own detriment. And learning that and just confronting it was like one of the most lucrative decisions in my like economic history. And there's also this like a lot of people, I think it's extremely common to feel shame around this stuff, which is why we don't talk about it, which is like so unhelpful. But avoiding this stuff and letting it become that looming specter, that feels really bad. And that just feels worse and worse. And you like think it's your own personal demon when it's not. But the trick of resolving any of these things, even if it's like a tiny little bite-sized thing, like learning how to fill out the Cigna form, that felt so good. And so I think there's actually a way to rewire your psychic rewards, and just if you make the next step really bite size and you just go bite it off, you're a hero to yourself. Like that can be the most powerful thing because this is just all psychological. And once you break it down into digestible little things, it becomes so much easier to manage. So if you're on the shame side, see if you can just tackle that one expense report or that one Cigna reimbursement claim and get that good feeling. And then you're going to want to do it again. So, one audience question I have for you, um, this is like very sincerely felt, is what are some ways that you can think of that you have behaved irrationally with your money? Is this like a purchase for of a dress for a wedding that you probably shouldn't have bought? I don't know, personal example, potentially. Anything like that, folks. And I think we're gonna read some of the faves at the very end. So feel free to submit your answers in the chat and we'll come back to it by the end. Thank you. This is great. I love this functionality. Um, so once you get past the psychological, the thing about budgeting and income, it's actually quite simple. The basics of it are quite simple. And I'm going to shout out our sister Ashley Messenger from NPR for this framing. Spend less than you earn. So That sounds so simple, right? And it's harder in practice, but we're going to talk about this structurally, right? Because that for me is the most clear way to think about it. And when something is clear and simple, again, it feels really manageable, and it is. So spend less than you earn, two components to that: what you spend, outgoing, and what you earn, incoming. So we'll start with outgoing. Y'all know this one. This is just budgeting. And so I cannot possibly tell you anything you haven't heard before here. Do free stuff. You can hang out with your friends by walking foster dogs and like going to weed a park together and doing fun free things instead of going and paying for like very nice wine. You can just reorient yourself away from consumption and retain that emotional nourishment. That's actually quite fun and like easy once you break the mental habit. Monitor your subscriptions. This one gets all of us, I think. Like you're never actually using that membership, and they know that, and that's how they get you. I've gotten addicted personally to buying secondhand. Like I always buy secondhand clothes. The Real Real. Is anyone else obsessed? And using discount sites and brands like Marty and Costco, The Ordinary. Very often you're paying so much of the percentage of a ticket of an item's price. It's just going for like the marketing and the branding. You don't want that. Just pay for the product. So this next one I have a really hard time with. Don't get takeout. Learn to cook. Listen, Gloria Steinem can't cook, so neither can I. I'm not going to tell you to learn to cook. I don't know how I heat up leftovers. That's how I cook. So this one I struggle to reconcile with my feminism, but I will just tell you, learn to cook, whatever. If you're good at that, God bless. Go with God. It's not for me. This one, this one's hard. Don't buy stuff that you don't need. So there's that trick, or you just like put in your shopping cart and like don't buy it right away. Think about it later. I think that works. Take a picture of it if you actually remember the thing. Great. For me, I had this like realization in the past couple of years where I realized that everything was made out of plastic. And once I realized that, it like ruined it. It's like everything is the same thing, it's just in another shape. And so I started saying to myself, oh my God, I love when my plastic is shaped like that. Oh, I love when my plastic. And then I don't want to buy anything because it's all the same thing. Um, so one thing that's really helped my mind on this also, deleting Instagram. That thing makes you want to buy stuff and you don't need that stuff. And it's just like new special pants. Do you sometimes need special pants? Of course, you should get special pants, but Instagram's trying to convince you that you need like hundreds of them. So there are a lot of other ways that you can work out budgeting, but I think the easiest thing to do for yourself is to make it structural. Make it so that you don't have to keep making the same choice over and over because eventually you're going to get tired. That's decision fatigue. You're going to get tired. You're going to say, oh, I just want to like buy these pants because Instagram keeps telling me. Make it structural and so that you don't have to think about it again. And this, on a very large degree, means focusing on the biggest ticket items, just making sure that those are under control. And for most people, for me included, housing, car. If you keep those payments low and manageable relative to your income, then you can get all the takeout you want and never have to, well, maybe not all, but a lot of the takeout that you want and not have to learn how to cook. And this obviously, this means trade offs. Your house isn't going to be as nice as it could possibly be, but the trade off is feeling comfortable and not worrying. And that is, to me, incredibly valuable. I think one thing that also helps is making it visible, is getting all your finances in one place so you can actually see it and just put it in your brain. If it feels like it's disparate and all over the place, then you're like scared that there's some looming specter somewhere that you don't know about. Try to consolidate as much as you can and get it kind of in a singular dashboard. Um, I am not the kind of person who's going to tell you to avoid indulgences, though. Like, I think you deserve a coffee. You deserve to be treated like a person and to treat yourself like a person. So you can be kind. It's not going to help you to be mean to yourself. So be kind. Um, and this one is I have another audience question here that I actually very sincerely felt because I feel like I collect these little budget tips, savings hacks as like a personal hobby. So if you have a good saving hack that you would like to share with the group, I am more than all ears, and we will share some of those at the end as well. So that's the outgoing money side. But the incoming money side, I think actually matters even more because you can't necessarily cut your way to growth. Now, of course, this depends on where you are in your stage of life and what your financial situation has been. But if we're thinking about how to grow that side, we need to grow income. The easiest one, if you're working in a job like any kind of corporation, please max out your 401k. That is free money, and this is goes triply true if you're young. Google the power of compounding, please, or see me after. It just The only reason that I personally will be able to retire ever in my whole life is because I put money away, I think basically accidentally, when I was at Bloomberg News and they had a really healthy match. Thank you, Bloomberg. And that money's just been sitting there growing and growing without me doing any single thing to it. I mean, it's not huge, but it's better than I was going to do otherwise. Just invested in the stock market and it grew, it compounded upon itself. And time is truly money. And any like the longer the time horizon, the more money. So this is kind of a start yesterday. If there's one thing that you haven't done, and if this is like the only thing you take away and you go do it, I'll be so happy. Um, Separate and apart from retirement accounts, if you have disposable money, you can invest that too in the markets. I feel like we like forget that. You can like open a Schwab account or TD Ameritrade. And this one is actually, I find quite annoying because it apparently is true that markets generally go up. History will tell you, and of course, history is not a predictor, but this, if you think about it, it does make sense. Like all these people working for all those corporations, maxing out their 401ks, that's all money flowing into the markets, right? So that means every month there's more and more and more money going in. So number goes up. People are buying over time. So it just history suggests that you will make more money if you invest it than if you just save it. But if you're scared, which is very understandable, put a good amount in a high yield savings account, enough that's a good cushion, and then invest the rest of your disposable income. Now, of course, that's assuming you have disposable. So we'll get to that. A little personal anecdote that I'm like overly proud of, I think. I was one time scrolling to buy Birkenstocks to replace my Birkenstocks that I had like worn out or whatever. And I was like, I really need to Birkenstocks. Like, it's time. I'm like, okay. And somehow I got to the point where I was like tired of scrolling. And then I decided that I would just take the money that I was going to spend on Birkenstocks and buy stocks. Okay. I don't know what happened. And so then I bought a fractional share of Microsoft. And I was like, so I cannot tell you how psychologically rewarding that was. I don't know that that's going to happen every time, but if you're about to make a dumb purchase, maybe just put it in a stock or something. It just felt great. So now I think I'm a hedge fund and I recommend it. Um, the number one thing that I think I would transmit is in the income side, just get a new job. Like, did you see Materialists? This lady in Materialists is like, oh my God, I make 80 grand and I live in New York City. And it's like, get a different job then. Like, this sounds really hard. This sounds terrible. And she's like trying to get by and trying to marry somebody rich. Like, can you not get it? You are very talented. Get a different. So network, tell your friends that you're open and your connections that you're open and you're not like actively, you're happy, you're whatever. But like if something comes along, you wouldn't say no. And then if you get a competing offer, we all know this, you take it to your boss and you say, hey, I have this very viable competing offer for this much more money. Can you match it? Either way, you win. We love this. Do that as much as you can, as much as your boss will tolerate. And I know that y'all know this one too, but 100% of the time, please always negotiate your opening offer. If you are in interviews and they give you an opening offer, they have lowballed you. Go for 20% at least more, is my personal advice. I don't know if that totally works, but I feel like this is just like incredibly gendered. There's a ton of research behind this and it kind of comes and goes, but women do not negotiate as much as men. Women get rejected more when they try. And we can control half of that, right? We can control what we do. So please negotiate. And if you feel uncomfortable doing it, I think I have a little reframe for you. If you don't ask for more money, you're hurting generations of women who come after you. Do you want to do that? You don't. You have to help them. So it's not just for you. So, oh, and one little example of this that just still cracks me up to this day. I once picked up a speaking gig to backfill someone who had gotten COVID and could no longer do the talk. And the organizers were like, "Oh, what's your rate?" And I was like, "Uh, um, what were you pay me whatever you were going to pay her." And it was the most I have ever been paid for an hour of my time, and it refinished my entire basement. So I just would say, like, you have no idea how much people are making out there. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy for less good work than you're doing. I don't even need to know what you're doing. So this next one's like a little tough. If your industry doesn't pay well, speaking as a journalist, maybe change industries. Like if you are, sometimes we have this conception of our job as our identity. Like we are, this is what we do, this is who we are. But we don't have to. Like there's this like free pass where if the market is not rewarding you for the work that you're doing, okay, it's okay to have a hobby. like set that aside. Go find a job that like pays you so much more money, and then you can invest all your beautiful time that you have now freed up, not having to worry about money, in your beautiful hobby. It's totally okay to have a hobby that isn't your full-time job and that's like artistic. For example, did you know that I'm a painter? Exactly. You didn't. It doesn't matter. I really enjoy it and no one pays me for it. So, the last one I'll say on this point is I would be remiss to not mention passive income. This is obviously the kind of thing that you're going to hear a lot on like TikTok, etc. The most obvious is rental income. Buy a house, fix it up nice, rent it out at Airbnb, whatever. This is also like writing books that then sell and you get to like, keep the money from that for the rest of your life as it comes in. I can't recommend that as a super lucrative strategy, but these are passive income strategies, and that's a whole another can of worms that I don't technically feel qualified to tell you about. But that is, making money by doing nothing is totally the dream. So the bottom line for me is to find ways to get more money for every unit of your work. And I think that like I get distracted by cheap little things. Like I'll be like, oh, I'll sell this like dress on Poshmark, or like, there's always like Fiverr jobs or like driving for Lyft or doing tax job. Like all of these little things are good for like short-term cash infusions if you need it. Absolutely. Like if you need cash, get cash. But that's not going to fix your structural problems. You're not going to end up with like a better situation because you like did all these Fiverr jobs for literally $5. Like we want you to be paid more than $5 for your work. So we need to not work longer hours, not pick up these little gigs. We want big structural change, something you only really have to do once and then you'll be paid more. So that's my biggest soapbox, probably. And I do go around my friend group, just like bludgeoning my friends about this, especially about negotiating and making sure you're getting raises. But I do want to talk about another kind of angle. There's another way to think about the ways that you're interacting with the economy. And this is also sort of structural, but it's something that's everywhere. These little invisible threads that are woven throughout our lives and throughout the economy, and it's core to how money moves. And understanding this, I think, allows you to understand the levers that are available to you in your own personal finances, how people and institutions make money off of you, and how you can kind of flip that around. And if you've read my work, you would not be surprised to know that this is about interest rates. So I want everyone here to become, if you're not already, deeply interested in interest. I see in the chat that we already have some fans of high yield savings accounts. Thank you to all of you because that's exactly right. My biggest thing is that interest rates matter really the most of anything, no matter how much money you have. It's the rate you're paying on borrowing, on your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards. It is the cost of money, of having it and of not having it. So I kind of am using the same paradigm here too, where if you have money, I want you to get paid as much as possible for having that money. And if you're borrowing money, I want you to get charged as little as possible. So it's kind of, we're mushing things in the right direction, right? So, as the chat has acknowledged and is lighting up about, which I'm so happy to see, you can get paid interest. You put your excess little monies in a high yield savings account. I too have Capital One actually. And these can yield 3-4%, even more, depending on where interest rates are in the broader market environment. And you get paid just for having money. And that feels really good. But if I hear that you have money just in a regular savings account, a checking account that does not have any high yield component to it, I will visit your house personally and I will stand over your shoulder until you move it. I did this to a colleague at Planet Money. I didn't literally fly to his house, but I was like, what? Like, he did not really appreciate it, but he just had his like rainy day fund in a checking account. And I was like, you need to. So don't let that happen to you. Protect yourself from me and please move that to a high yield savings account. Thank you. And then elsewhere, we want to lower what you are paying, right? So we want to, I think someone mentioned SoFi in the chat. We want to refinance your mortgage early and often. It's really cheap and free, basically, in this country. That's amazing. So anytime interest rates go lower, go nuts and refinance your mortgage if you have one. Car dealerships and like if you're replacing windows, like all these contractors very frequently offer extremely low rates for some fixed term. Do it. You can shop around, but anytime you can get low interest rates, you should do it. And the move here, this is like my favorite trick, is to be paying out less than you're being paid in. So if you have that Capital One account and you have like a low interest payment that you're paying, you get to just, that's free money that you capture. And that means that you're a hedge fund. So feels good. Um, the best kind of interest, you may be not surprised to know, is 0%. Anytime you can take on 0% debt, you should, in my opinion. It's going to sound really bad out of context. Okay, not anytime, most times that you can take out 0% debt, you should. So, because of the time value of money, so money today is worth more than money tomorrow. So, anytime you can delay a payment legally and fairly and without hurting someone, don't do this on like invoices that you owe. You should do that. So, this I think runs counter to a lot of personal finance advice because I think that like Affirm and Klarna are good because they actually are giving you functionally a 6 week interest free loan. I love that. Like that just smooths out the payments that you are going to make on whatever it is over 6 weeks for free. Why would you not want that? So I think the thing is just keep an eye on it. Don't let it add up on you and you don't notice. Like that sounds bad, but don't forget about it. But if they're offering you 0% interest, you should take it. But you must watch out because something might look like 0% interest, but it's really not. So I had this radicalizing experience where I got Invisalign in 2021 and they told me that it was interest free, 0%, but I could take on the financing option if I wanted. That's 0%, like it's really great. But there is, if you don't do that, if you pay in cash up front, there's a cash prepayment discount. And I was like, that's an interest rate. So there's some amount of money that if I wanted to get the long-term financing, I'd have to pay. That's an interest rate. If I smooth that over the term of the financing, it was about 6% in like a zero interest rate time. And I was so angered by this. I got in a big fight with the Invisalign people. They did not believe me that it was interest. They thought I was confused. I was not. I did not win this fight. I paid the cash prepayment discount and I loved my Invisalign, but I was just really mad that there was this hidden fee that was basically interest all dressed up. So you gotta stay on your toes. And that's kind of a question I have for the group. If y'all have any experiences, any places where you suspect you might be paying hidden interest, write it down and let's go argue with them. I would love that. It sounds really fun. If you do have debt and you are paying interest, I think there are a lot of different ways to tackle it. And there's actually a lot of debate around this about the best possible ways to tackle debt. And this is because of the psychological effects and mental rewards of doing it one way versus another. And it's like if the debt is too big or if it's the reason there's so much debate is because of all the emotion and psychological stuff and also because of all that shame. But the fact that there's a debate means that this is very common. And it also means that there's a lot of community. And that means that you can have an accountability buddy. And that might be a stranger on Reddit, that might be your friend down the road who also is working on debt. But when you can open up about these things, again, having community about this, having accountability with another person, that can really help and that can help motivate you, which is really helpful in like flipping that mindset. So again, on debt, you know what I would say. The only strategy to me is to focus on that interest rate. If you have a bunch of disparate debts, you want to focus on the low, like the highest one, paying that one off first, keep the lowest ones, and you can consolidate your debts into a personal loan that probably has a lower rate and pay that down. And avoid, if you can, carrying a monthly balance because that means that you're paying interest to your credit card companies. And the most basic thing I want you to remember, which you probably already knew, is that paying interest sucks and that getting paid interest rules. So that's how we want to reorient around those two pillars. And there are also, I should say, there's so many apps out there that can help you on this. And I actually kind of barely know them because I have my own kind of organically chaotic methods that for managing my money. But Acorns to like squirrel away your savings, which is great, and like invest it and get in the stock market. And that's automatic, so you don't have to make the choice but one time. And then there's Monarch for tracking and budgeting and working towards a goal in a kind of fun and gamified way. So all of that to say, there are tools available. And I think if you can lock in and just get your own mental clarity, that's really the first step. If you're already past that, you're basically winning. So, because money is entirely psychological, I want to leave you with this. I want you to write down one big financial win from your past year and one fun, easy thing that you gathered from this session that you're going to go do right now. Okay. I'm really excited to see the answers. Oh, look at that. National debt relief. Yes, that's great. There's also, if you, Maria Bamford, the comedian, has done a lot on, she joined something called Debtors Anonymous and wrote about it in her memoir. And it was actually really, yes, Holly, yes. Oh, look at this. Oh, I'm so happy. Guys, this is filling my heart. Sorry, I didn't finish my sentence. The Maria Bamford memoir has a whole section on debt and how she kind of navigated her way out of being enormously in debt. And she had some like very creative hacks that are completely alien to me that were like, if you have this kind of debt, if like it's gone to collection, you can like call the people you owe and just say like, I acknowledge the debt and pay $1 and it like uncollections it. Anyway, a different area from my expertise, but I think it can just be nice to read that kind of stuff too and like realize how not alone you are. Yes, to arguing with Verizon. 3 months of I'd love to see that. Yeah, buying a house. I know it's really good. It actually is. We have a really crazy system with the way mortgages are structured in this country that does make it very advantageous to buy. 6% doesn't feel good as a mortgage rate, but there is a lot to be said for owning. Ugh. Especially our house, I didn't realize was a fixer upper until we were fixing it up. Then I realized. That's why we could afford it, and I do recommend affording it.
Okay, we actually have a question that we can start off with, which is what is a financial consideration that many people overlook?
Well, my obvious answer would be interest. Sorry. Wow, one track mind. I mean, I do think that like we've gotten so much smarter as a society about shopping around and like not thinking that like you get what you get and that's it. So I think being smart about what you take on and like learning to do your own research, which is so hard and so intimidating, but like is truly, I mean, it really does pay off. So it's like the shaking off that fear and like diving in is the best thing that you can do for yourself and like teaching yourself.
Okay, let's see. We have a lot of questions.
Oh yes, sorry. I see tomorrow's. Can I answer that? Because that
Yes,
one I
go right
know.
ahead.
Max out yes, max out your company match exactly. So like, don't put it. You don't need to put your entire paycheck in that we want us to eat and live. But yes, max out how much your company will match. That's the word that I was missing. Match, because that's literally just your company saying if you give $1, I give $1, and it. I mean, it actually is so powerful. Again, especially the younger you are, the more it'll pay off. But also at any time.
Amazing. Um, I see. Do you have any recommendation for a bank to do with a high yield savings account, like a good starting place?
I think there are ways to, I mean, you can look at like Bankrate and NerdWallet and other places to shop around for the best rate. And if you're comfortable, I mean, some of them, like if you open an account, you get $200 if you spend enough in the first whatever. Like all of these things are great and you should like balance what works for you and you can find things that like give you a little bit extra. For me, I had a like ease of convenience where like my husband and I opened a Capital One account together because I love those Capital One cafes, you guys. People will help you in them. You'll say, I have a question, and there's a person there. That's nice. So that I felt was valuable, and I maybe shaved some percentage points or, fractions of a percentage point off of my rate that I'm getting on my CD because I didn't go with some other random bank online, but I'm okay with that. So that's a trade-off decision that I made. Oh my gosh, look at all these questions.
I
High
know.
yield, I can do the high yield savings account
Yeah,
one.
go right ahead.
Thank you. So Taylor, they are different. So a CD it's basically the same except that there are restrictions on when you can withdraw. So if you get like there are types of CDs and I don't know like why exactly, but a high yield savings account, you can take the money in and out at any time. It's like literally the same, but a CD typically has a term to it. It's like a 2 year, 3, 6, 8, 9, 12 month CD and it's locked up for that and you can't get it out without a penalty. So if you're really excited about interest rates, which I have been and have had CDs recently, I just love interest. You like that's absolutely fine, but there are trade-offs to those. You're kind of making a little bit of a bet when you sign up for a CD that has a penalty for withdrawal, right? You're saying, I don't think that rates are going to go lower than this. I think this is where rates will stick around. And I don't think that I'm going to regret having, oh, sorry, higher. I don't think rates are going to go higher than this. And I'm like happy at like, 4% or whatever it might be. I don't remember what the current Capital One rate is or what the current market rate is, honestly, because I just like made my decision and I want to make it once and forget it. But when I signed up, it was 4.5%, and I want to say it's in the threes now. Other Capital One stands out there. Is that right? I think it's the same across. So we all should be getting the same rate. Nice. You got me. 3.35%. Thank you. Oh, I love the idea of an investment club.
Um, And Charlotte asked, what are good investment goals to have at different stages in life?
Such a good question. I mean, when I was in my 20s, my goals were like buy pretty dresses. And then now I'm almost 40 and I have to like fund childcare. So it's really shaped by necessity. I mean, I think like I saw a question elsewhere also that was like, should I pay for an investment advisor? It's not a bad idea. Like they don't charge an arm and a leg if you don't have an arm and a leg to give. So there are kind of different rates that you and like different sizes. We work with an investment advisor and I'm far from rich. So I think that like that can be helpful, especially in setting those different goals. Because like if you have kids graduating and going to college, like that's an enormous expenditure that you know is coming. So how do you prepare for that? And you want to kind of adjust how much risk you take in the market versus how much you're willing to sit there and wait and like weather different downturns. So like if you can't weather a downturn, maybe you shouldn't be taking a whole bunch of risk and buying risky stocks. Maybe you should be in bonds instead. So I think for that, those are the kind of decisions if you have these kind of lumpy moments in life where you're going to need to spend or have a huge expenditure. Those are the kinds of things that you need to plan for and save money for in a high yield account. And make sure that that money is ready when you need it. Buy a down payment for a house is another one.
Totally. Can you recommend a group of women to network with around building net worth?
Such a good question. I haven't done this in my personal life, so I can't, but I'm inspired. I mean, it's like a book club, right? But for money, like how hard can it be? I don't ask your friends. Is that,
Okay,
yeah.
I agree. What should I be doing with my 401k accounts from when I was starting to work at different jobs? She says
Oh,
that it's hard with getting
great.
multiple statements all the time and can't remember which ones are which.
I think that you can spend a little bit of time, and this is actually a pep talk that I will receive as I give it. Spend a little bit of time, Mary, going and comparing the different plans, figure out which one is your favorite, and roll them all into that. There, it's actually quite easy. I did it the other year, and y'all, I will just tell you, notice when you do this because I then went to log into the old one that I had emptied, and I was like, oh my God, I've been robbed. Like, I completely forgot that I had done this, which is very responsible, good thing to consolidate. Anyway, just make sure you know that you've done it. And I think that that's like the easy, it's actually quite easy. It just takes like a little bit of research. And like sometimes these plans are so close, you can stress out about comparing, like, am I in the BlackRock target date or the TIAA? Like you can really work yourself up into frenzy comparing these. Focus on keeping those fees low. I think that's an interest rate. And like wrap it into the one that's easiest that you just like for whatever reason like the best. And it doesn't have to be that rational, honestly. Like just try to focus on the fees, but if you like vaguely like this one better than that one and you don't think it's that different, fine, go with the one you like.
Is it better to give more than your company matching your 401k, or where should the extra income go?
Oh, that's a tax question. That's a good question. I think it depends. I think it basically depends on your tax structure, and I would actually punt that to a real tax advisor because I don't technically know. I think like once I've maxed out my 401k, I just high five myself and go home. Like I don't think that hard about it. So I think that you should probably ask a tax expert. Sorry.
This member says that they have an adult child that's accumulated some debt over the past 2 years, and he has signed a non-secured promissory note for debt to help him out of it. Should I pay off all the debt at once or in payments to get his credit back online?
Okay, I love this. Gosh, that's a good question. How much is credit worth these days? I wonder if you could do it in big chunks. That I'm splitting the difference here. Because if you pay it off all at once, you're minimizing interest, right? I'm assuming there's interest on this. And then like, but getting credit back online is quite good. And also, like, I wonder to what degree, like, perhaps you could structure something with him so that he's participating in this and it's not just you. And so he acquires the habit of paying it. Like, maybe you could build in a behavior that will help in the long term too and not help to kind of mitigate this coming back. I don't know. Does that sound reasonable?
So to keep earning interest, should I use my current high yield savings account as a checking or find a high yield checking account?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm using those very recklessly. If you're already in a high yield savings account, I salute you. You did it. That's great. I just like if you happen to realize that there's one that's higher earning, like paying a higher rate, you could switch, but that's also like hassle and I mean friction, hassle, headache, that's all basically money, right? Like if you're spending time doing that, those are hours that you could have been spending, negotiating your money, your income higher or like finding another job or like quilting something to sell on Etsy. Like it doesn't matter. Like time is money. So if you want to lock in and like think that there's a higher rate out there, feel free to go find it. That's like kind of fun to do like little checkups every so often for yourself. And if you win, you have the highest one out there and you can like pat yourself on the back or like close to the highest one. That feels great too. So no decision is also a decision.
I think you mentioned this earlier. What is a good budgeting app? This member used Mint, but it shut down in 2024 and she's looking for a new one.
Okay, I'm gonna punt to the I don't actually use an app. I'm like very bizarrely old school about my app usage. So I'm gonna punt to the chat where it looks like Maria uses You Need a Budget, which actually sounds very good. And I've seen good things about Monarch, but I think it costs money to use, which frustrates me as a, consumer.
Can you roll over to a 401k for a former employer? They feel that seems like it's a bad idea since you can't change investments.
You can. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of your call, right? So if you're like, okay, your old employer, you had invested in the BlackRock one, but now you like TIAA, don't roll it into the BlackRock one then, like fine. But I think that like it's just the thing that we're indexing for, I think the thing that we're like aiming for is consolidation into whatever one the best one is, in order to reduce overall fees, in order to reduce mental friction, and in order to just like keep this like one nice dashboard that you can look at and know what's going on. Um, so yeah, I think that's a good point, but like it's not one I'm not making so many changes to my investments in my retirement accounts that I actually want that functionality or that optionality there. So for me,
Totally. Is there a certain type of financial advisor that they could help to manage and plan across multiple platforms since she has investments and accounts everywhere?
ugh, that sounds so annoying. I have the same sort of the same situation and I have worked to consolidate because it feels so chaotic. And then you're like, am I rich? Am I broke? I don't know. I think any financial advisor should be able to work with you. You just got to bring all your crazy papers and be like, here. But it should, I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily depending on your situation, I don't know that there's necessarily a certain type of financial advisor. The like flip side of that, of course, is the national debt relief type of organizations that, and like Debtors Anonymous and groups that can help you sort through that chaos. But that's on the debt side, not the asset side.
Totally. When should one open a second line of credit? This member is 23. She has one credit card of almost 5 years. And do you have any credit card recommendations?
I love this. Okay. I think it's so great that you've had a credit card for 5 years. That's really wonderful. Good for you. A long history helps with your credit score. Um, you can do it whenever. I mean, they say not to have too many, that affects your credit score. So like that's something to be mindful of. Don't go ham, but I'm not up to date with like which ones are offering the best best introductory offers. Spend this much in this much amount of time and we'll give you, $300 or whatever. I do pay attention to that stuff because I care. But I think one of the things that I really psychologically, I don't travel enough for a lot of those credit cards, the fancy ones, to make sense for me. Like I had one of those Chase Sapphire or Chase Reserve, whatever's, and I was like, what? I'm paying for the honor of this credit card? Like, what? So that upset me. And I don't like that. So and that was like a hefty fee. It was like $800 a year for the privilege of having that credit card. And I simply could not make that back. And like the points, fancy point stuff, I'm not a points guy. It's not for me. That is a whole nother personal finance world. And like if you can do it, go with that. God. But I think that it's just I would focus on like if you like the user interface of the bank and it doesn't stress you out, that's kind of powerful. Like you want to be able to visit the website and not be like, whoa. And if it's like, you have good vibes and they have low costs and they're not charging you for nickel and diming you, then I think it's interesting.
I agree. This may be out of your area of expertise, but do you have any suggestions for dealing with student loans generally? Should I be trying to pay as little as possible each month with the hopes the remaining balance gets forgiven at the end of the loan repayment period? Or do you think that will backfire with so many constant changes to the student loan program?
I think this is such a crazy area. It's so hard to say. I have a colleague who very dutifully paid off all of her student debt, thousands and thousands of dollars, and then figured out that it would have been forgiven. And she was just still proud of herself for having paid it off because she's incredibly resilient. I would have been really mad. I think paying the least, I mean, it depends on the interest rate. I would say that. I think that yeah, that's just painful. That's just feels really bad. I think what I would say is focus on the interest rate. And if you can use SoFi or something similar to reduce that interest rate, do that as much as you can. And then I would just pay the minimum as long as it's like if that rate is lower or near even the market rate and you're like, otherwise functioning, it's true. Like maybe it gets forgiven. Like why if you paid it all off, like my dear colleague, like you're gonna kick yourself. I don't know. That one is very emotionally fraught for me, like just trying to think through it. But I think yes, lower the rate as much as you can and pay the minimum.
Okay. What do you do when you have just come through the foreclosure process and selling a home for tons more?
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know that I understand. Are you saying like you're starting from scratch? Can I get more clarity on the question? I don't know that I understand. Like, is there implication from the foreclosure process for the profits from your house? And you're like, or did you just make a lot of money?
I'm maybe gonna give her some time to trickle
Thank
in
you.
the chat,
Sorry,
maybe some,
Anne, for not.
no, you're totally fine. I'll leave it up there. Do you have any favorite finance podcasts?
Ooh, I I mean, Money Rehab with Nicole Lappin's good. She was at Bloomberg for a while. We overlapped a little bit. I think the more, for me, it's not about like, I'm not trying to think about like budgeting and personal finance all the time because I find that somewhat punishing. I want to be like inspired and like enriched by all this stuff. And so to some degree, I think a lot about financial markets and the world and how these things interact and like the price of silver is crazy. Like, what about and I think that like so I look for that kind of enrichment. So like this is where I'm, you know, what I think about when we make our own podcast episodes of Planet Money. I listen to Odd Lots. I listen to Ezra Klein on economics. I listen to a lot of different things in that kind of field that are more like broader macroeconomic or micro and financial market, but not so much personal finance because I don't know, I get a little overwhelmed. Like if they're like, do this, don't do that. I'm just like, make the number go up when it's coming in and the out number go down. Like that's a little hypersimplified, but
Reporting on finance and financial wellness often means navigating a male-dominated space. How has being a woman influenced the way you approach these stories or the way people engage with you?
this is too real. Thank you. I love it. It's I think it's made me aware. I mean, I could sit here, I actually looked this up before and I was going to incorporate some of this, but like the stats on women in money are horrifying. Like we control more of it and we don't make any decisions and we like get no we get what 2% of VC funding and yet we like it's disgusting and it's horrifying and it's like I often feel in this very male dominated world like I'm like an undercover agent or something. And then like there are platforms now like Elevate and Sally Krawcheck doing all this work, like talking to women about it. And like, I don't know, to some extent, like again, it does sincerely feel radical to be to just be a person who's a woman in this space and like thinking about money and talking about money openly and then like abusing my friends about interest rates. Like all of these things are to me light feminism, light little feminist acts that I can do that like help in a very marginal sense to change that balance. But, it when you're at a conference and the line for the women's room is one other lady, you make pretty good friends pretty fast. And the other women in this space are fantastic. And I've learned so much from getting to talk to them, especially the like older women that I learned so much from when I was doing my book research, talking to the women that were like 20, 30, 40 years older than me. I was just like, they went through it. Like it was gnarly and I don't envy them the treatment that they endured for just being a person in the office who was a woman. So, yeah, it's annoying, but I think again, the more we talk about it, the better it is.
Agree. Do you have any advice about I'm gonna just say the acronym because I don't know what it stands for, HELOC for home repairs. I'm not sure I fully understand how repayment works.
Yeah, a HELOC operates just like any other loan, as far as I know. You'll correct me in the comments, but basically, like you've taken out a home equity line of credit, and it's basically saying, "Hey, I have this house. I have equity. I own some of this house. It's not all just debt. So I am borrowing based on that equity." And that means like you don't want to go ham, you don't want to go totally nuts because you're risking that equity, but you're saying I'm good for it. Like I have this as collateral. I'm basically promising against this. So my interaction with this is just like paying it like it charges interest just like any other line of credit, just like any other borrowing and you handle with care. I think this stuff can get real messy when things go badly. When things are going fine, it's like easy to manage and you just pay, right? Like any other loan. But I think you do got to be careful on the kind of downside risk of that because of the equity. Your home is tied up in the process. So some care is warranted, but otherwise I think it operates generally normally.
When do you recommend someone to start estate planning?
Oh, wow. Like the second you think of it, probably. I think like my little 20 something self, I do sometimes think about all those pretty dresses and if they had been stocks, if I had made my dumb Birkenstock stock trade when I was like 23, how much richer I would be. So, that's not pure estate planning in kind of the traditional sense, but I do think that like the earlier the better for these things. It definitely is time. I mean, I can't say it enough. Time is money, and focusing on these things and getting your house in order is really, really powerful. So estate planning, you want to be able to live a comfortable life and you want your kids to be able to live a comfortable life. You worked to earn and save money for them. So I think, although I did just read, I can't remember who said it, but it was some billionaire was like, money's the worst thing you can give a child, like one of your children. And I was like, whoa, because then they are like too rich and they don't work. And it's like itself a curse in the other direction that I guess most of us have less experience with. So yeah, my answer would be no.
Do you have any finance or budgeting book recommendations?
I have finance book recommendations. I don't have budgeting book recommendations. Again, I just get like bugged out by it. Because to some extent I get a little bugged out. I think because especially when they're like, I'm talking to you, girl, it's like you're making money off me buying this book and like feeling confused. And I don't completely trust that like everybody writing these books has my best interest at heart and is actually delivering like valuable insights. So my gut again would just be like getting more comfortable, like parceling it out and like getting more comfortable with like each little piece of it. And for me, that has been like learning what interest is and how it operates and how it works in the world. But and I got plenty of finance books to recommend on that front. But the funniest one is probably called The Fund by Rob Copeland. It's about Bridgewater. It's pretty wild. But that's not going to help you budget.
Okay, good. Are there things you check yearly or other period of times that would be good to get into the habit of?
Oh, yeah. I keep a very close eye on my finances. I probably open my bank account twice a week, at least three to probably a lot of times a week. And my credit card statement. And I look at that credit card statement. I mean, this is basically falls under the category of, monitoring for subscriptions. Because I'll be like, who did that? It's always me. I'm like never hacked. But I'm like, who bought that? Why would they buy? Yeah, I did get a facial. Okay, well, and just like any lumpy purchase like that, I get really mad about. So, I keep myself on a pretty, like, if you just like are aware, because when you're buying it, it feels great. And then when you see it on the statement, you're like, ew, I would never do that. And those two selves need to meet, So the closer you can compress that time period, the better, I think. They need to have a conversation.
Then our last question we have is, should I prioritize benefits or salary when accepting a job offer?
Jessica, I love you. What a good question. All of these questions have been so good. I think for this, it depends on your stage of life. So, for example, if you are thinking about starting a family, you're going to need to prioritize like the parental leave and the things like healthcare stuff because kids get sick all the time and you'll get sick all the time. And like you're, having a child is a medical experience. All of these things, that stuff's going to matter so much in that period where you are starting a family. And then like assisted fertility stuff, some companies have extremely good benefits now to the point where I'm like, if I'm looking at like a new, benefits package, I'm like, wow, I wish I needed more children. Like, that's crazy. That's a really good IVF, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff now. So that is a very time specific recommendation, right? Benefits matter a ton in that period. And then otherwise, I don't know if I'm in my 20s and early 20s and I'm like, literally, I don't care. I want a good company match and I want good vacation that pays out when I quit. And, I think these things matter a great deal differently at different times of your life. Oh, companies also do good student loan stuff too, depending on how big your organization is. So, like, one of the most powerful things you can do is at work, download that little handbook, employee handbook or whatever, and actually read it. Because there's stuff in there that they're not telling you because they save money when they don't tell you.
Mary, thank you so much. Do you have any last thoughts or things you want to share before we wrap up and do our final giveaway of the night?
I just am so honored to get to talk. Is there a way that I can like save the chat and read all of it? Because it's just so wonderful. And I want to like see all these wonderful answers. Y'all have been amazing. Such great engagement. And I'm really happy to get to talk to y'all about this stuff.
No, I think me and Kaylin are going to look into saving the chat too. So I'll send it over once we get squared away.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you for attending tonight's Flourish event with Mary. These events would not be possible without all of our dues paying alum. If you need to pay your dues or need a refresher, please go to the Pay Dues tab on the Kappa website. We hope you continue your financial literacy era and took lots away from Mary tonight. It was so exciting getting to meet her and getting to learn all of these awesome things. We want to thank you, Mary, for an amazing event and for all of your tips and tricks. We're so happy you spent this time with us tonight, especially it being our first event of 2026. And also for more, Mary, we put on the screen her website and social media handles. Please go follow her and continue your financial wellness era. And we want to make sure that you guys keep an eye out for our communications. Flourish is going to have some really exciting things in the next couple weeks. Next Wednesday, we have a mocktail making class. Then we have a book club on the 26th. We have links for those events on the screen so that you guys can go and register. We're kicking off the new year right and do not want y'all to miss any of it. We cannot wait to do this again so soon. We also next month have an estate planning event too. And in September, we are having an investing 101 event. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. And we can continue on making sure that our accounts are all accounted for and we're taking care of it. So good night. Thank you again, Mary, for kicking off 2026 and making sure our checkbooks are starting off the right way.
Thank you all so much. It's an honor to be with you.